Saw it last night during the Orioles and Yankees game. I didn't even know he passed away, to be honest with you, until I saw it last night. I was wondering like why they keep showing Willie Mays, but I saw on CNN he passed away at the age of 93. Um, I love when people ask me thought-provoking questions on here. This is where I shine. I like having these types of discussions. So what do I think about um, Willie Mays? Well, one thing is for certain is that on a grander scale, we are entering into a period of time in our lives, which is a very weird one in this generation. I don't think any other, we may have, but I'm not going to say this is the first time. But it is interesting to note that we are in a time right now where you have approximately six generations of people who are still alive within a time span of each other. So what I mean is that the people who fought in World War II are still somewhat with us. That generation that fought in the Korean War, that generation that fought in Vietnam, generation that fought in the Persian Gulf and Desert Storm, the generation that fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Those people all coexist at the same time. There's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about a man who has lived to the age of 93 years old and comes from a generation of segregation, the Negro Leagues, and played in all of those things. 93 years old, if you think about that, is 9 decades plus 3 years. Okay? It's typical math there for people. And so you have to think about that in the sense of a human life. And you have to think about that in the sense of how much life that is, how much experience that is, how many days that is, how many seconds that is, from birth, learning how to walk, learning how to talk, learning how to speak, learning how to function in society, to where you get to be 93 years old. And then you look at your own age, and your own age could be 50, your own age could be 30, your own age could be 60 or 70. And if you're in your 70s, you're 20 years younger than him, which at one point meant you were young just like he was. And at some point, now you're looking at it and you're just as old as he was. I think how that correlates to sports, in a sense, is that this is a weird time that we live in regards to sports. Because just as many things change, things stay the same. But just as many things stay the same, we're starting to get to a point in our lives, in our time, that we are becoming the last generation that is going to see these people live before they become the legends that they are. You know? And what I mean by that is that the generation that was around to tell you what the Negro Leagues was like are entering their hundreds, if they're still alive, or they passed on. Willie Mays was one of them. Jackie Robinson was one of them. So he got to live to see the Negro Leagues be integrated into Major League Baseball, so that is fantastic. He got to see the changing of the guard in regards to civil rights and the progress, to some may say the progress of society as a whole in integrating black players and Asian players and Hispanic players into a sport that definitely needed variety and needed talent to be that way. That is a long life to live. And in all honesty, to see a figure like this pass away, it's much like seeing the figures such as Brooks Robinson pass away, who I had the one time in my life to get an autograph from at a signing. and to ultimately see that these people are not immortal. I think one of the worst things in life growing up is to see people that you once believed and thought were immortal not be immortal. It's such a travesty to the mind of a person, of growing up. It's one of the sad things of growing up, is to realize that all the people that you thought were invincible are just as mortal as you are, and that they're capable of passing on as you are. As a child, you don't think that. Because as a child, you think 100 years is like 1,000. But as you get older and you get to your 20s and you think time is going to stand still, and it doesn't. And then you get to your 30s and you think time is going to stand still, and it doesn't. Next thing you know, you turn around, you're 80 years old. And life has just passed you by. Like, all the things that are familiar to you are no longer here. All the things that are new are appearing at a rapid rate. I can't imagine at this thought capacity in my life at this moment what it feels like to be 90-some years old and to see a world that you did not grow up in. But you get the gift to see a society benefit on what you worked so hard to make. I think that Willie Mays is one of the most phenomenal baseball players of the 20th century. I think he came during a golden age of baseball that really created the godlike legends that made baseball the game that it was. I think that when you look at the body of baseball as a whole, and you look at the players that came along during the dead ball era, and you look at the beginning of baseball in the 1800s and the 1900s, baseball didn't pick up until Babe Ruth got involved in it. But then also, baseball didn't really pick up, again, until the Negro Leagues got involved, where you had all these mythical legends, such as Satchel Paige and many others who I can't name right now, to be honest with you, because my memory's shot to hell at some point. And you look at that body of work, and you say to yourself, you know what? I existed in a world where this man existed during my time. You have a new generation coming up, Gen Alpha, who are in their baby to childhood years, who will grow up in a world that is void of all the capabilities that we had as millennials, as Gen X, as baby boomers, as Gen Zers, if they even count right now. That everybody coexisted at one point, at one time, and could see these people. That's my thoughts on a person like Willie Mays. I think Willie Mays, you know, the behind the back catch at the Polo Grounds is stuff of lore and stuff of legends. You know, I mean, you don't have baseball today unless you have your Mickey Mantles, unless you have your Willie Mayses, unless you have your Stan Musials, your Brooks Robinsons, your Jackie Robinsons, your Frank Robinsons. That is why, in my honest opinion, it's important to not just love the game of baseball or any sport, but it's important to progress, I think. But it is important that while we progress, we don't live in the past, but we keep the past around as a reminder to those who come after us to say, this is where it came from. This is why we do what we do. This is why we respect who we respect. Because there's going to come a time where we ourselves will have the clock ticking. And there's going to come a time in our lives where we're going to have more years behind us than ahead of us. And we got to start thinking about our legacy. We have to start thinking about what world we wish to leave for others here. We got to start thinking about those things at a younger age so that by the time comes for us, we don't sit on our rocking chairs when we're too old, or be on our deathbeds and wish that we could have one more day to do things. I feel like a person like Willie Mays, if you look at his body of work, he did his job. This is an individual who lived 9 decades and 3 years. And in the eyes of the universe, that is what? Just a pebble. But I think that I think it goes without saying that these were phenomenal baseball players. And more importantly, they were phenomenal human beings who sparked the imagination of children everywhere. Your Bob Costases, your multiple sports broadcasters who are in their 50s, their 60s, or 70s now, who say, I remember growing up watching him. That's why, in my honest opinion, not to make it about me or anything, but this is why, in my honest opinion, why the stadium builder thing is, for me, a very fascinating thing. Because eventually, at some point, as the game progresses and as time goes on, you have to start considering looking back and educating the new generation about things that have come and the things that will come, and educate and lead those things. That's why, to me, it's very important to look at Negro leagues, to look at old ballparks, to look at historical stuff, and to bring that home, because those things get lost in time. Eventually, at some point, the recipes that your ancestors made gets lost in time because people don't pick it up anymore. That's what happens. And I hope that the people who at Major League Baseball make it known to a younger generation that these were phenomenal athletes who performed in one of the most turbulent periods in American history and were able to get the job done. Not because they chose to, but because they had no other choice. These were baseball players who served in World War II, who fought one of the greatest wars to determine the outcome of Western civilization and the whole entire world as a whole. So you have that to include as well. That, to me, is something that sticks with me as I get older. I feel like the world has lost a very tremendous athlete. The world has lost an athlete who, if you never got to meet him, like I unfortunately never got to, if you never got an autograph of him or if you never met him, that opportunity's gone. And that's sad. But at the same time, this is why I preach all the time to live your life as if tomorrow's not guaranteed to you. That doesn't mean to be reckless or stupid. That means to be adventurous, to meet the people that you want to meet, to go and do the things you wish to do, because life is ultimately short. And we are entering that age now where you're now starting to cross generations. And I feel like this is probably going to be our last-ditch effort to where, like, a person who is 30 can meet a baseball player who's 80 and 90. They're going fast. So my advice to anybody, if you look up these players and you admire baseball, you admire football, you admire soccer, anything, if you get a chance to meet them, if you get a chance to go to an autograph signing, if you get a chance to pay the price, stand in line, shake their hand, and get their autograph. Because there's no telling if you ever get a second chance. It's not guaranteed when you're young, and it's definitely not guaranteed when you're in upper age, such as these gentlemen who laid the foundations of the game in the golden age of baseball. And, you know, to the younger people who are unable to do it, can't do it, stay in the library, stay in your books, be fascinated with the past, because if you're fascinated with the past, you will definitely see where it will go in the future, and all those things will fall into place. So that's a long-winded explanation to things, but you know, that's how I feel about it. That's how I ultimately feel about Willie Mays and his passing away. It's you know, they're starting to go away. That's the unfortunate situation about things. But you know what? That's life. And you know, your pet dog isn't guaranteed to be with you for 10 years. Your parents aren't guaranteed to be with you in your 40s and 50s. Your children are not guaranteed to be with you when they're 18. There's nothing guaranteed in life. The only thing we are in control of in life is sustainability. That's it. Nothing lasts forever. The only thing that lasts forever in life is things not lasting forever. And just let that be a lesson of sustainability. If you cannot sustain it physically, eventually at some point you will have to sustain its memory. So that's my 2 cents. So, with that being said, we are ushering in, and by we I mean I don't know why I keep saying we. I am ushering in a new era of ballpark building for this year. I am finally done with Memorial Stadium. Everything in Memorial Stadium is complete. As I said, except for test kits, test maps, test layouts, and stuff like that. If people wish to use that, then by all means, go ahead. That is for your discernment and liking. I am moving on to creating more ballparks. So if anybody's lost or need follow-up, here's the follow-up of ballparks in which I have already created. Riverfront Stadium, Three River Stadium, Atlanta Stadium, Exhibition Stadium, Memorial Stadium, obviously, RFK Stadium, Yankee Stadium, um, Riverfront. There's probably more that I've done too. I got to check. Oakland Alameda Coliseum, that's been completed. Candlestick Park has been completed. So this year I'm adding on new ones. So I'm going to attempt the Negro League Stadium, certain Negro League ballparks. I will be doing. I will also be working on rest of the Baltimore baseball legacy collections with Old Oriole Park. I will be doing Madison Square, Madison Fair ballpark from the 1800s or so. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff that will be created amongst the ballparks and stuff. So this right here is Shea Stadium, the 1964 version. It'll probably carry over into 1969 if you Mets fans want to relive that. I don't. I'm an Orioles fan. Obviously, you know we didn't win in 1969. So there you go. I will probably most likely go back to creating older versions of the ballparks that I. Oh, and I forgot Tiger Stadium. I've created Tiger Stadium as well last year. I will probably go back and update it as well as most of the other ones. The problem is that with the flagpoles, you can't do much with the flagpoles because, as you see here, SDS has this weird type of thing about it where you cannot, for the life of me, move flags within this vicinity. So older versions of Stadium Builder, such as MLB The Show 21, you could have flags here, you could put flags around there, you could put flags right here. But all of this is blocked off for some apparent reason. And that's just unfortunate. So that's just it. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm getting to. And I'm going to try and get everything done accurately. So all I have to do is just go in and just create. So I will be redoing Wrigley Field, the LA version. I haven't done that in 3 years. I will be doing Seal Stadium again. I will be doing Six Stadium. I have emailed myself all the fences, all the requirements, all the stuff. I just need time. So hopefully all this stuff will be done probably around August into September or so, and July as well. So that's just it. So just to keep you guys abreast of the situation and what I'm working on and what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So this stream's going to come to an end real soon. It's 6:11 p.m. As you guys know, I'm working on Shea Stadium, so that's already going to be in the books. I'm just going to do the outline of it. Then I'm going to move on to another stadium and do the field, and then get all that prepped and worked on and stuff like that. So there is this poster on Reddit. Comes from salmon, salam, olives, onions. 10 questions for you creators. We love your insight. Again, amazing work you all do. I love every time a new statement gets posted. You all truly do amazing work, whether it's custom designs or replica builds. I'm always left super impressed. We'd love for you, the creators, to give your 2 cents on the following questions. I don't feel like typing this on the Reddit, so whoever does come across this, if it's salmon, olives, onions, the way the question is worded, it sounds like a low-key developer from SDS asking a question or something like that. But I'm gonna give my answer here while I'm in this stream, doing this stream. So the first question asked is, what is your favorite prop? My favorite prop to use in this is brick exteriors. Anything concession, anything neighborhood-wise. And the reason being for that is the memory usage for the brick alone is a lot. Takes up way too much. And so you're left with the alternative to find something that's going to either A, help you get to building an exterior or an interior level without taking about 7 to 10% of your memory. And that's pretty much the answer to that one. Second question is, how do you handle when an area doesn't feel right? In regards to that, like I live by the philosophy of, my philosophy is as follows. If you know how to draw a circle, you're going to know that when you see a circle, it's in the shape of either a bouncy U or an oval. Memorial Stadium, for example, is an oval. And everything on that plot of land fits within that oval if it's a stadium. So if you look at Shea Stadium, Shea Stadium in itself is half circle. So everything in that field level is going to be a half circle. If something doesn't feel right or doesn't look right in regards to what you're building, especially if you're trying to do like what I'm doing, which is straight up editing and building a existing piece of architecture, it is important and imperative to always go back to the resources that you are using. And in this game, it was once deemed impossible to build a circle, make a circle, but much like most things in this game, someone who has come before made it possible to no longer see it as impossible. So that's the answer to 2. Third, do you have a tip you'd like to share with the community? As you guys know, you've all been with me for a long time. The tip I share with anybody in this community is, if you're going to get into this ballpark creation, you are going to have to look for things that are going to challenge you and constantly keep you on your toes, so that when the time comes for you to execute something you desire or something you love, it will be met with anticipation and excitement instead of reserve and fear. If you are building cookie cutters, you will have to understand that you are going to fail. One of the biggest things you're going to fail when it comes to cookie cutters is you will fail, most definitely, with trying to build a circular motion. You have to understand that not all cookie cutters are built in circular motion. Most of your cookie cutters are going to be built for more or less. They're going to be built oval. They're going to be built like a ring, and they're not going to be most definitely a circle, while some other ones are going to be a circle. That's one of the things that will challenge you. That's one of the things that will come your way. That will be one of the things that's going to make you walk away from this thing. For example, Camden Yards, you're going to have to see what you can get away with. And if you feel like, I don't condone quitting in life, but one thing I do condone is walking away from a situation that you have for certain knew, that you have thought out to the best of your knowledge what you can do and how it's going to turn out. And if you know for a certain fact that what you're doing is going to be a lose-lose situation, I would walk away from it. Camden Yards is ultimately that for me. And the reason being is because I love Camden Yards, I love Baltimore, I love Memorial Stadium. The only reason why I build Memorial Stadium is because no matter how difficult it is, I can get away with it. What can I get away with? What can I get away with if I'm building Camden Yards? And Camden Yards is going to be vastly, vastly difficult. It's going to be more difficult than Memorial Stadium because Memorial Stadium has unique shapes and such. The limitations of Memorial Stadium is the limitations that's in the game. Limitations of in the game is you can't move the foul poles, you can't move the bullpens, you can't move any of those things. You can squeeze out a W with that. You can barely squeeze out a W with Camden Yards because Camden Yards gets to be like Ebbets Field. But Ebbets Field you can even do because of the shapes and everything that defines it. You cannot do that with Camden Yards. The best you can do is embrace the limitations and see where it gets you. That is all. All right, here we go. What's question 4? Do you prioritize what can be seen by the batter, or do you prioritize building a full stadium, exterior included? I like to push the system to the fullest extent of what can be done. But there are two options that you have to choose when you go into a ballpark and you build it. One, if the developers at SDS can produce cutscenes that can show the exterior of a ballpark, I believe we should be able to, within our powerful confinement, be able to do that as well. I think this ultimately comes down to what you are and who you are as an artist, and what your imagination is going to take you to. When I build ballparks and I build stadiums, I want my ballparks and I want my stadiums in the exact environment that it was in at the time. So if I'm building a 1940s ballpark, I want 1940s as close as possible. I want the aesthetics to represent that. If it doesn't represent that, then I can't do anything for that. Now, that being said, if you are the type of person who is building an exterior ballpark, you are going to focus on pushing that to the most extent that you can before you run out of memory. So if I have 86%, for example, if I have 86% to my disposal, and I sit up here and I look at Memorial Stadium, and I say, I want to do Waverly, I want to do the neighborhood, I want to do the community. Because when I play that ballpark, I want to see the immersion. I want to see a livable city and a livable town the way I know it when I drive down there and I see it. So if I'm not capable of pulling that off and I'm not capable of doing that, I don't want to do it. But I will say that there are pluses and negatives to each one. It just depends upon what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to lose out on. If you do what I call an economy version of the ballpark, What you're going to miss out on is you're going to miss out on the immersion of the ballpark that you are trying to build. You're going to miss out on the immersion of the facade, everything going on outside, the pictures you've seen, the videos you've seen, if you've seen any about the ballpark and stadium. What you don't miss out on is you don't miss out on anything that is seen from behind this foul pole on the right and this foul pole on the left. I call it the illusion of viewing. You can literally make everything in front of you, everything in front of the batter, look realistic and look true to point, and have everything in the back of that stadium blank and non-existent. Because in this game, you're not going to see anything outside the ballpark. But you, the artist, is going to see everything. You, the artist, is going to know that you propped the person at a house or something like that. So ultimately, it comes down to what you're willing to. You ultimately, as an artist, you have to understand what hill you're willing to die on. That's pretty much it. That's what it comes down to. That's pretty much what comes down to it. So let's see what question 5 is. How long does it take your average build? Months, days, minutes, a night, depending. I'm getting better at expeditiously providing quality. There are people who can push these bad boys out like hotcakes. But what good is that if you got to come back to it and redo it? People are naturally going to praise it and go head over heels for it because there's really not much competition going on here in regards to what you're trying to do. So the sky's the limit. But deep down inside what you're struggling with and what you wish to see and what you wish to do and what you wish to fight with. Let's get question 6. Do you use any resources outside the game to support your builds? Lots and lots of research. Clem, stadiums, I've discovered in 2021. I call up archives if I can. I call up the archives of a city. I will call it if the ballpark is still in use, I will call the ballpark itself, the team's ballpark itself. I will use every single ounce of research possible because that's my background and that's what I specialize in. And that's pretty much what leads to me building good models the way I want to build them. That's the only way, is full immersion. How do you settle on wall dimensions? You have to understand that the way they made wall dimensions in this game doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't apply to the logic that is used in real life. So it's just like this field dimension right here. Like 409 to center is going to make it sharp, but you need to make it round. So if I make this here 392 look a certain way, and I make 392 over here look a certain way, guess what? It's not going to look the same. It's going to look that way. So you have to pick it's much like all the other questions that come along. You have to take what's there and try and do the best you can to make the best out of a weird, wonky, awkward situation. What is on your wish list for SDS to add to Stadium Creator? Memorial Stadium, Ebbets Field, see what other ones. Memorial Stadium, Ebbets Field, classic Yankee Stadium, if possible. And if not, then at least add the assets to make it possible. That would be worthwhile. Yeah. mostly classic versions of the stadiums that you have added. Memorial Stadium is going to be one that's very tricky because with Memorial Stadium, and that's what usually takes the longest with me, is that Memorial Stadium is not just a single stadium. It's a stadium that has gone through multiple changes in its lifetime. So if you want to get the 1954 version, you're going to deal with power alleys that are 2446 in the middle, 309 down left, and everything. If you're going to deal with the 1980s to 1990s version, you're going to get 405 to center, and you're going to get all your regular stuff that people are accustomed to. So if SDS makes that version, more likely they're going to make the ultimate version. They're going to make the version that closed down in 1991, and that's pretty much what you're going to get. You're not going to get 4, 5, 6, 7 versions of it. Because much like Yankee Stadium changed about 4 or 5 times before it shut down and was renovated and turned into what it was. So the version that they decide on is the 1976, which is kind of modernized for the Derek Jeter era that it came to be. So those are the versions. It'd be nice to have, for the old Padres fans, it'd be nice to have Jack Murphy Stadium that's been since demolished. It would be nice to have RFK Stadium for the Senators and the Nationals. It would be nice to have those just for educational purposes. Kaminsky Park, the more 1980s version. That version you have that changed multiple times. You have a version that was a brick exterior before it was painted white. You have that. So it would be nice to have those surround themselves with that too. That would be great. What section of stadium is hard to design? Foul territory. Anything dealing with whatever they're trying to, anything that they're trying to contain in regards to building, it's very limiting because there's certain weird signs and stuff that cannot be used in regards to building the stadium. And that, to me, is very, very frustrating, very difficult. So that's that. What is your favorite build? Ebbets Field. Memorial Stadium, a lot of people, if they saw my work, they would say Memorial Stadium, but Memorial Stadium for me is always incomplete because, number one, it's the one I love the most. And on top of that, there's always something new that I feel like I can do better. I could either do the outfield field better, I could get the slope right, I could get this right. I'm always trying to figure out stuff to do with that. So I feel like that's never going to be satisfiable as Ebbets Field was. Ebbets Field is very difficult to do, but very satisfying because once you get the knack of it, once you get the hit of it, and you go against all the stuff that's been placed towards you, it definitely becomes more of a fun ride to take over. So that concludes those questions. Hopefully, the guy who wrote them on Reddit can watch it. I didn't feel like writing all that stuff, so I was already doing a stream in real time. I figured to answer it at that point. So I'm going to be wrapping up here real soon with people, and this is the first of many builds tonight. I'm going to try and do the initial builds and then go back and then add on and see what I can get away with and what I can do. Because this right here is, I got to see if this is fully circular. So one of the ways that you can do that real quick, and this is something I'm starting to do because I need to see is a whole lot better than going to build this whole entire thing and then it doesn't really doesn't really go up to what I want it to go to. So, but folks, that's going to conclude this stream. Let me work on the rest of this, getting this stuff done, and I'm be getting out of here. But thank you to all the people who stopped by as always. If there's always more people, be more than welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I will be probably on again tonight to do another stream of building and talking if you guys wish and want to. That'd be much appreciated. Oh, Anthony, thank you for stopping by. I will most likely be back again. If you guys have any questions or any thoughts, I mean, you could ask them now in the next like 2-3 minutes. If not, then that's cool too. You know, just my advice to anybody who is doing this is to build. Don't think you're going to fail. You will fall short. You will screw up. You will not get where you want to be at immediately. But if you stick with it and you apply it, this mode will help you think. It will help you in your professional life, because you will learn to think outside the box and be creative and think on your feet. It is definitely something that will be your best friend in that sense. So, and another thing, like, never be alarmed about shapes. Never be alarmed about shapes. They're shapes for a reason. You have to go back to your toddler days. You have to go back to your infancy days and start at the basics. What is a shape? What is a rectangle? And, you know, if you get to a point where you can't think about that, or if you get to like this point, like this right here, if you do a shape like this and it's not turning out the way you want it, figure out like what's going wrong with that. What is going wrong with that? Why am I not getting where I wanted to go? And that will solve a lot of your problems. Okay? So we'll take a look at this and see if this is a circle. You're basically looking for a C. Now, do you guys see that? Do you guys see a C? Do you guys see that? If you see that, good. If not, then there's work to be had. So then what you want to do is you want to cut all that out, and you want to maintain this. You want to measure everything, make sure everything's good, monitor it. What do you see? You see a C. Okay? So you want to curve it a little bit more, bring it in a little bit more, and you can. But generally, that's what tricks people up about cookie cutters. I will most likely have to go back and do Busch Stadium 2 again just because of this, because it is very difficult and hard to do ballparks and all that type of stuff. It gets extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to do and to work on, because, you know, you are a slave to the shapes, and you will most likely struggle, and it will most likely be frustrating. But the payoff is that once you knock all the shapes out and you get everything straightened out and good, you'll never have to do it again. This will become a template for you to use, and you will never have a problem with it ever again. So that's that. You can delete everything, because guess what? From this point moving forward, now you are in control of the shapes. Your upper deck, your club level, all have a template that can be followed. And so from this point forward, all you're doing is just paying attention to detail, smoothing stuff out, lifting things so everything is smooth, and that's that. Shapes are everything to replicate a ballpark. You know, you can't do anything about the foul poles. You can't do anything about the bullpens. You can't do anything about most stuff in this game that are out of your control. But what you do control and what you can control is the following. Your shapes around what is constrained, your memory allottage, that you can control, that's something that you can work on, and that's pretty much about it. And that's how, if you're okay and at peace with things not being exactly what they are, but having the spirit of what you want it to be, then more than likely you're going to be on the right track to building the proper stadium. And then when you start creating your own ballparks, now you're going to start extracting things and start thinking in a more practical sense as to what people use, what do architects use, how do people think about customer usage, where fans go, concourses and levels and stuff like that. If there's anything I can suggest before I part from this, I highly suggest people to research ballparks that are already built. If you're looking to build ballparks and stuff like that, I highly suggest to research everything and to look into stuff so that when it comes time for you to build a ballpark, you're going to start building your stuff with purpose. It won't look goofy. It won't look serious. It won't look silly. A lot of people's ballparks, when they first start out, look the way they look. It's very simple why. It looks the way it looks because people have all these things. They have all these concourses, all these snack levels, all these chairs, all these people, all this stuff. And they just do anything without purpose. Everything that you build, everything that you create, all your resources and stuff need to have a purpose. It's no different than buying a whole heap full of wood. You have nails and screwdrivers and hammers and everything. You must have purpose. If you're building a house, you need to have that wood and screwdriver work effectively in order to what to use for it. If you don't, guess what? You just got a pile of wood. So it's the same thing in this. It's the same thing in everything in life. Like I said before, yeah, it's just a game, but there's a lot of lessons and stuff to be learned in all of this, so that when push comes to shove, you actually know what you're doing, and you actually are capable and kicking butt when the time comes. So, that's just that. So I'm going to leave it at this. I think I got this exactly where I can get it at for the most part. I think it gets a little bit easier as you get on the upper deck and stuff, when you're not constrained to shapes and everything. I think it gets a little bit easier from there. But yeah, I will check you guys next time. Any of you who are in the Reddit thread, MLB The Show Stadiums, be sure to share that portion of this stream to answer that question. The guy who asked the question, he really sounded like a person who works for SDS. I can't shake that. For some reason, it sounded like a person who worked for SDS. So, but yeah, I'll check you guys next time. Peace.